Hello guys and girls, this is Codey-Singh. Welcome back to a new video. In this video, I'm going to talk about DTOs and domain models. If your API returns your domain models directly, you're probably leaking bugs, coupling, and security issues without even realizing it. So today we are finally clearing up one of the most confused topics in the backend development, DTOs versus domain models. A lot of developers either don't know the difference or know it but ignore it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly when to use each, why they should never be the same thing, and how this decision affects maintainability, security, and scalability. Let's start with domain models. A domain model represents business concepts and business rules. It's not about APIs or databases. It's actually about how the business works. For example, imagine we are building an e-commerce system. This is a domain model. Notice something important here. This class contains behavior, it enforces rules, and it protects invariants. This is not just data. This is business logic living in code. Now let's talk about DTOs, data transfer objects. A DTO is just a data container. It doesn't have any logic, behavior, or business rules. Its only job is to move data from one boundary to another. For example, this is a DTO. Data transfer objects exist to talk to the outside world. APIs, UI, messaging systems, external services, they are not smart, and that's intentional. Here's the mistake that I see all the time. Developers use domain models as DTOs. They return domain entities directly from controllers. And it works, mostly, until one day it doesn't. Now, why is it a problem? The problem one is that you're leaking business rules. Your domain model contains logic. When you expose it, you expose internal rules that should never leave your system. Problem 2, tight coupling. Your API shape becomes tied to domain structure. Change the domain, you break clients. Problem 3, it causes security risk. Domain models often contain internal IDs, audit fields, and sensitive data. DTOs let you control exactly what leaves your system. Now you may ask, what's the correct flow? So this is the correct mental model. Domain models live inside your application. DTOs live at the boundaries. So the flow would look like request DTO maps to the domain model, then business logic runs, and after that map back to the response DTO. Now this is how a realistic controller would look like. Notice what's happening. The controller does not expose the domain model. It translates it into something safe, stable, and intentional. And just as a note, we are creating a DTO here in the code itself, but realistically, you'll use something like AutoMapper to do it automatically. But like with everything else in the life, doing the right thing is always painful. Some developers might say, but DTOs are extra work. This feels like boilerplate. Yeah, and that's the point. That separation is what buys you flexibility, security, and long-term sanity. There's a simple rule you might want to remember. If the class represents business behavior, it's a domain model. If the class represents communication, it's a DTO. If your DTO has logic, you're doing it wrong. If your domain model is exposed publicly, you're also doing it wrong. If this finally cleared up things for you, hit the like button, it really helps the channel. And if you want me to cover more real-world C# architecture content, subscribe. Next video, we might talk about commands versus queries and why mixing them makes your code base harder than it needs to be.